Okay, so we are going to start putting all the mesh back together and start making the cloth rig very soon. But before I start, I just want to give the concept of what I'm going to do in this video. As you see, there are a bunch of meshes. I already named them. There are core outputs, there are output, and then there are input. So this could be really confusing. So I'm going to actually put the concept in the WordPad for you and then just kind of get an idea. This is how I'm going to set it up for the cloth rig. Generally, what I would do is I put the core input in the beginning. So this is going to be the high-res mesh. This is also where we generally load the cache onto the mesh. So I can say also cache load. Then we're going to drive that to the input mesh. This is going to be the sim mesh, but it really just another layer for us to kind of like, let's say if I need to do shot modding before I even start simulating, you can potentially put wrinkles and stuff like that into the input mesh and then use that to drive the simulation. So it really just another layer. When you create a nCloth, it automatically comes with the input mesh, but you can leverage on that if you want to, but I always find that it's kind of tricky. You have to switch them in the menu. I guess you will do either display current mesh or input mesh. Alternatively, you can also create with, I think, the workspace output. I think you could create with the both mesh visible, but for me, I think it's just easier for like create a mesh that's already there and have another layer, because I really don't know what would happen if you update the mesh nCloth is generated for you, the input mesh that's generated for you. So I always find this has been a safe way to do it. Then we'll go on to, this will be driving the sim mesh. So sim mesh, obviously we're doing the sim here. There's nothing too crazy about that. Then the sim mesh is going to drive the output. So output and input mesh will be the same. They're lower res, and they also just another layer for flexibility. So I'll put these here. Low res. Case here. And then we'll go on and drive the core output. And this, again, will be the same as the core input, except now it's being driven by the simulation. And I'll just put in the high resolution here. So how are we going to connect them together? Obviously, I can just wrap them all, but wrapping is such a heavy operation. So with it, I think generally what I do is we'll do mix of wrapping and simulate blend shape. So in terms of a core output, core input, because input mesh and the output mesh are different topology and different poly counts, we will need to use wrap. That's kind of one way to think about it, I guess. But when it comes to input mesh to sim mesh, we can actually use blend shape because they're exactly the same topology and same poly count. Same as the same to output. So do that. And blend shape is just a lot lighter. It's both the method will work. If you want to just, well, if you just want to do all wrapping, it will work for you, but it will just be a little bit heavier. And then finally, the for output, we're going to do a wrap. So this is kind of what we're going to do. And obviously this, normally I script these because it's kind of very consistent throughout the cloth rigs, and it's a lot easier just kind of script it based on names, even if you want to, and then you run the script and then it will just be all done. In terms of wrapping, then, because the flat meshes are on the ground, I need to actually do the wrapping from the back, or putting the mesh together from the back to the front. So this stage, it's gonna be the very last. Actually, one of these, this stage is probably gonna be the last. And I'll show you why, just because the mesh is gonna be turned into nCloth. But for now, we'll do all the wrapping first. That will be easy. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm gonna hide the bot mesh first. So as you see, what I was talking about on the WordPad, I basically named them all the way I want it to be, and also I kept it the original. This is exactly how it was before, so eventually we have to blend back to this position. So I just kept those mesh there. Eventually we'll just get rid of those. We won't need so many layers. Okay, so the output and the core output. When it comes to doing wrapping, the default setting obviously is going to work. It's going to be based on the volume, and then it's just going to be kind of heavy. So if you find there are times if you're doing the wrap and then Maya crashes, you can try what's called an exclusive bind. So basically it's trying to bind closest points as possible. So this, you kind of lose a little bit of quality, but you can speed up when you try to build the wrap. In this case, I can do volume or surface. I think I'm just going to leave as a volume, since I already kind of split out the tassels. I mean, you can do surface as well. It's not a big deal, since they are just a flat mesh anyways. So for me to check, I can just move the mesh, and then I can see the core is following through. Notice the cursor pivot is in different places, so later on we will need to reset everything back to the origin. So technically this is in the wrong place, but for now it's okay. We'll just leave it be. Okay, so the next one we will do the input. The input. Yeah. All right. And then wanna do input and the sim. So let's see. This one goes here. Blend shape. More space. Create that. Try to move it. Oh, I think I did it opposite. That again. All right. Okay, so we're all done here, except the output. This one is not connected yet, and but that's okay. So let's try to unhide these guys. I guess the base we won't touch it. Leave it be. Then what I need to do is I need to set all the pivots to the origin. So I'm gonna do modify. I think reset transformation, and then let's just take a look. Okay. And so what I would do is I'm going to blend the core input to the OG mesh. This is how we're gonna get the mesh back into the original position. Well, let's go ahead and try that. All right. So now the core input's there, the input should be there, and then the sim mesh should be there. I turn on the blend shape. All right. So once in the blend shape, turn on the blend shape, but the sim mesh is there. I am now going to turn this into nCloth. So I'm going to go to Effects, Cloth, create nCloth. Default setting is fine. And we can quickly sim this real quick just to see everything. Actually, let's do this real quick. I know this is pointing to the output cloth at the moment. The reason, by default, this is how nCloth works. So I can show you the shapes. It says output cloth, and say if I switch this to display input mesh, then it will say another name, and this is basically will be another input mesh. So I'll switch this back to the output, and then what I want to do is blend shape my output to the cloth. So I can do this, I believe, and then so now everything should be lined up and in the right place. We can try to simulate real quick. I can also save my scene, since some of those it takes a little bit of time, but it's not too bad. I guess if you have a lot of mesh, obviously now for every cloth you have, let's say, what, 5 layers of a mesh, so it can kind of get heavy, but again, flexibility is the key. You will see it later on when you really need it. Since I have Maya 2020, I'm going to turn on this cache playback, so it will basically sim in the background. As you can see, this red bar is going. The blue one's for animation, I believe. All right. So I see the cloth is moving, but is the right one moving? That's the key. So the output is moving, and so should be the core output. There you go. So it looks like so far so good. Everything is in the right place. But we talked about before, right? We are going to remove this blend shape. So I think what I would do is delete history. And then non-deformer. I think maybe I do need to delete deformer. Alright, so then it just be the wrap. I can just simulate again just to be sure. I guess another way I can test is to simply create a cluster. move it and then just see if my, well, I guess everybody's coming along, but mainly the input measure should be coming along. Alrighty. This guy anymore. So technically I don't need this, the top original mesh. So I can actually delete it. We're going to do the second one, or do the bottom mesh. So again, I think I can do the output first. Output. Oh, the top output in the wrong place. Actually, hold on a second. That's a wrong mesh. Okay. Yes. Right. The output's good. We'll do the input. Great. And I will do the bottom mesh. I think I need to do the blend shape opposite way. Alright. Everyone's following, and then now I have to blend shape this guy. Nope. Right. Then we'll create a cloth here. I want to stay with the same nucleus. Local space is fine. Then we'll do output. Now. This is why I do the scripting, because I always feel like I'm making a lot of mistakes. Then you have to redo them. But anyway, no biggie. So I want to do the history here. Actually, let's reset our pivot points. Could reset them before the cloth is made, I suppose. Well, there's something going on. Let me see. We'll try to do this. Create cluster. Delete. I think maybe because there are some values on the transformation, so maybe I'll just try to get rid of them. Yeah, maybe we didn't have that in the top mesh, so it's a bit better. What I can also do is I think that fixes it. All right. Everything still seems like it's lining up. Delete history? Oh, I want to delete non-deformer histories. Right. Seems like it's still good. Alright, let's turn these guys on. Core. The input. Put the same. The wrap. And making cloth. And to bot, right? No. I think it was like that. Oh, the sim mesh is not there. Why? What about the core? Blend 7 is there. Oh, I think we're missing a wrap. Okay. And the sim is following. We do nCloth. Output to sim mesh. Blend shape. Turn it on. Oh my goodness. All right. We're in business. Cool. I think all in all, let's unhide everything. So wait, I need to get rid of the blend shape in here. Actually, trying to think what I'm supposed to do, cause yeah, I think it's right. All right. So seems like everybody's in position, in the right place. I think I'm gonna start creating some groups. Oh, I guess these guys can just go there. These two is gonna be the LiDAR object group. Sim group. What's this one? Input group. Output group. core out, but group. All right. Can put these guys into maybe non-sim object. Guess I could do that. Okay, while we're at it, we're gonna do, I'll make a collider for some of these guys. So a collider for him. I want to be on nucleus 1, yes. Collider for the belt. No, I don't really want to, but got to. This will be enriched. So again, a lot of these, you know, we'll just do it in the scripting. It's a lot easier, but it's important to show you how I do it manually, and then, you know, we can later figure out how to do it with the scripting. I noticed some faceted mesh, so I think I'm gonna try to smooth some of these guys out. These are the input mesh. Guess we'll just do modeling, display, soft edges, and then daily history. Oh, seems to be alright. I think the output is gonna be the same, right? Output seems to be okay. I'll do it anyways. Mesh display. Guess maybe it seems like there are overlapping meshes, so kind of jagged it. We got a core output. Maybe, yeah. Guys, I'm very, okay. Pretty okay. Just do that a little bit safer. I don't want to remove the wrap. Hopefully I didn't remove the wrap on the other ones. Daily history is always been the tricky things sometimes. Alright. So far so good. I think so normally I would just do hide this guy, hide output, hide the core input as well. I just show the sim or the output mesh. Even the sim could be just let it go. Let's save the scene real quick. We can actually do our, like a quick sim, just to see if things blow up. But this is pretty much what I would do in terms of building a cloth rig. There are, you know, building the cloth, there are nucleus, there are colliders. Building the right sim mesh is always the key, for me anyways. I always try to make sure the sim mesh are good. For nCloth, it doesn't like triangles, so if you see your mesh has triangles, try to avoid it, or even like 5-sided polygons. The nCloth just likes quads. I know in other packages such as Houdini or even Max, they actually like, you know, these triangles, which it has more organic feel to it. And I actually also agree, but for nCloth it just works differently. So try to keep that in mind. If we could, I would have done it that way, but I haven't tried it before, and it's very, very slow with nCloth when you're trying to do that many triangles and then try to solve the cloth. So I would say avoid it unless you are changing packaging or using different solver. All right, let's get this. I don't see any changes. Oh. It's possible that I removed the blend shape. Yeah, because I don't see it moving. So let me just do that real quick. All right, I think we got it. It is working. Okay, I'm gonna stop this video here. The next video we're going to try to do is, I believe we'll start setting it up. I think I need to put in some constraints or paint areas that need to be attached to the body, because what's going to happen with the cloth here is it's going to unravel itself and then it's going to fall to the ground, and so is the bottom, sorry, as well. So yeah, we're going to actually start setting up the cloth rig, and then we'll start simming. I will put some animation onto it and then we'll sim it properly. All right, see you in the next video.